in a world filled with uncertainty, loss, and heartbreak. One woman's loyalty changed history forever. This is not just a story about survival. It is a story about faith when life falls apart, patience when prayers seem unanswered, family when everything is lost, and joy that comes after seasons of pain. This is the powerful story of Ruth. And by the end of this story, you may never look at hardship the same way again. Chapter 1. The Famine. Long ago in the land of Israel, there was a terrible famine. The fields dried up, food became scarce, families struggled to survive. In the small town of Bethlehem lived a man named Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their 2 sons. Every day became harder than the last. As hunger spread across the land, Elimelech made a difficult decision. He would leave Bethlehem and travel with his family to the land of Moab, a foreign place far from home. They hoped it would only be temporary, but sometimes life takes us places we never expected. The family finally settled in Moab. At first, things seemed better. There was food, there was shelter, there was hope. But then tragedy entered their home. Elimelech suddenly died. Naomi was heartbroken. The man she loved, gone. Now she was left alone with her 2 sons in a foreign land. Years later, the sons married Moabite women named Ruth and Orpah. For a moment, Naomi felt joy return to her life. Maybe things would finally become peaceful again. But pain was not finished yet. Not long after, both of Naomi's sons died too. 3 widows, 3 broken hearts, 1 empty future. Naomi had lost everything. Chapter 2. A Decision of Love. After hearing that food had returned to Bethlehem, Naomi decided to go back home. There was nothing left for her in Moab anymore. As the 3 women walked together on the dusty road, Naomi suddenly stopped. She turned to Ruth and Orpah with tears in her eyes. "Go back," she said softly. "Return to your families, build new lives for yourselves." Orpah cried and hugged Naomi goodbye. But Ruth stood still. Naomi begged her again. "Go back, Ruth. You are still young. You still have a future." But Ruth's answer would become one of the most beautiful declarations of loyalty ever spoken. Ruth looked into Naomi's eyes and said, "Do not ask me to leave you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." At that moment, Ruth chose love over comfort, faith over fear, family over convenience. She refused to abandon Naomi in her darkest hour. Together, the 2 widows began their long journey to Bethlehem. They had no wealth, no husbands, no certainty about tomorrow, only faith. Chapter 3. Back to Bethlehem. When Naomi and Ruth arrived in Bethlehem, the town buzzed with whispers. "Is that Naomi?" the people asked. But Naomi no longer felt like the joyful woman she once was. "Do not call me Naomi," she said. "Call me Mara, because my life has become bitter." Pain had changed her. Loss had broken her spirit. But while Naomi saw emptiness, God was quietly preparing a new beginning. Ruth immediately began looking for a way to provide food. Every morning before sunrise, she walked into the fields to gather leftover grain behind the harvesters. It was exhausting work. The hot sun burned her skin. Dust covered her feet. Her hands became tired and sore. Yet Ruth never complained. She worked with humility and determination because she loved Naomi. And then, one ordinary day changed everything. Chapter 4. Boaz. The field Ruth had entered belonged to a wealthy man named Boaz. Boaz was respected, wise, and kind. As he walked through the fields, he noticed Ruth working tirelessly. "Who is that woman?" he asked. The workers explained everything: how Ruth had left her homeland, how she cared for Naomi, how she worked from morning until evening without rest. Boaz was deeply moved. He approached Ruth gently. "My daughter," he said kindly, "stay in my fields. You will be safe here." Ruth was shocked. Why would a wealthy landowner show kindness to a poor foreign widow? Boaz answered, "I have heard about everything you have done for Naomi. May God reward you for your faithfulness." For the first time in a long while, Ruth felt seen, not judged, not rejected, seen. Boaz instructed his workers to leave extra grain for her. He protected her from harm, and day after day, Ruth continued working faithfully in his fields. Naomi soon realized something important. Boaz was not just any man. He was a relative of their family, and according to their customs, he could become their redeemer, someone who could restore their future. Chapter 5. Patience and Faith. Naomi encouraged Ruth to trust the process. But Ruth did not try to force anything. She remained patient. She continued working hard. She continued honoring Naomi. And she continued trusting God even when she could not see the full picture. Many people give up too soon. Many lose faith during difficult seasons. But Ruth teaches us something powerful. Patience is often where miracles begin. Boaz admired Ruth not only for her beauty, but for her character, her kindness, her humility, her loyalty. In a world where many chase status and wealth, Ruth showed the beauty of integrity. And eventually, Boaz made his decision. He would redeem her family. He would marry Ruth. Chapter 6. Joy After Sorrow. The woman who once arrived in Bethlehem with nothing was now entering a season of blessing. Ruth and Boaz were married. Their home was filled with peace, love, and restoration. Naomi, who once believed her life was over, held joy in her arms once again. Soon, Ruth gave birth to a son named Obed. And this child would become part of one of the greatest family lines in history. Obed would become the grandfather of King David. The foreign widow who once gathered scraps in the fields became part of a royal legacy. What began with famine ended with joy. What began with tears ended with hope. And what seemed like the end was only the beginning. Chapter 7. The story of Ruth reminds us that faith can carry us through impossible seasons. Family is built through loyalty, sacrifice, and love. Patience is powerful, even when answers take time. Hard work and humility never go unnoticed, and joy can still come after heartbreak. Sometimes life may feel unfair, sometimes doors close. Sometimes we lose people we love. But Ruth's story teaches us never to give up, because God can turn pain into purpose, loss into legacy, and sorrow into joy. So if you are walking through a difficult season today, keep your faith alive. Your story is not over yet. If this story touched your heart, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs encouragement today. And always remember, faith, patience, family, and love can change a life forever.